Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode in our Rise of the Moor series, and this episode is the first one of League Football. So today will be the opening day of the League 2 campaign, and we're going to be playing Hartlepool at home. So just to bring you up to speed on everything that's been going on since the last season, well, we're in League Football now, so we're now a full-time professional club. And Damson Park, the Solihull Moors stadium, is currently being expanded to comply with league regulations. So we're playing our home games at Agborough, and that's Kidderminster's home ground. And that's probably going to be until later this year, so end of 2017, we'll be moving back to the newly expanded Damson Park. So as I feared, money situation hasn't really changed an awful lot. We obviously picked up a fair bit of income last season with our win in the FA Trophy. We had a financial windfall from the home tie against the champions Chelsea in the FA Cup third round. And we also picked up a little bit of money for the National League win. But actually, we're still losing money quite rapidly. Transfer budget was set to about 80,000 at the start, but obviously I've put that all into the wage budget as well as paying signing on fees for free transfers this year. So our wage budget isn't that big actually, and obviously we're having to comply with financial fair play regulations now as well. So whilst we're at no risk of exceeding our financial fair play commitments, we've got a very small wage budget again, and actually our financial muscle compared to a lot of the other teams in League 2 is really small again. But before we start with our performances in the pre-season matches, and before we have a look at the players that we've managed to bring in, I'd like to show you a few things that I think the club have been really good at so far. And the first one is our coaching and scouting capabilities. So I brought in a couple of additional coaches as well as one additional scout this year, and similarly to last year, we're actually the best at coaching all of the different areas. So this is really pleasing, and I'm hoping having a really good training regime and really good training staff is actually a bit of an incentive for players to come and join us. And basically how I've done that is just searching for unemployed members of staff with good statistics in the right areas. So for the coaches, like motivation, man management, determination, etc. All the usual ones that you need, as well as at least one decent training capability in, say, attacking duties or defensive duties, etc. So we've got a really good training staff. And our scouts, again, we've got the best capability of both judging player potential and abilities. Our player knowledge so far is okay, and whilst we haven't been able to uncover a fantastic amount of youth prospects so far, which is a bit of a concern, what we have managed to do is identify some good free transfers for us this year. So let's have a look at how busy we've been in the transfer market over the summer. As I mentioned in the last episode, Anthony Barry, Eric Odiambo, Jack Byrne and Jamal Fifield all left us. So Odiambo and Jack Byrne left at the end of their contracts, and I managed to ship off Anthony Barry and Jamal Fifield. They both went to teams in the Vanarama National League for nothing. They went on a free transfer. But essentially, I just needed those players who were going to be nothing more than a backup really, and I just needed them off the wage bill. So let's have a look at the players that I did bring in though. So we needed to bring in a fair few players because actually the Solihull Moors squad, once you remove the players that left and once you remove the people that were on loan with us last year, we didn't really have that many players left. So we had to bring in a number of players. And firstly, the big disappointment is that we couldn't secure Jack Haddon. Jack Haddon left MK Dons at the end of his contract, but he wasn't interested in joining the Moors, unfortunately. That's a real shame. So we were a couple of good quality midfielders down. And obviously, we had a couple of our ever-present defenders last year on loan as well, so we needed to bring some people in there also. So let's have a look at the players that we did bring in, and I'm going to start with the free transfers. The first player I brought in is Dion Conroy. He's a 21-year-old defender. He's got a fair bit of potential left in him as well, and he actually came from the Chelsea youth system, so he hasn't actually played in the league football just yet. He's a pretty decent limited defender. He's got some good physical stats, and he's got the right amount of stats in his defending duties as well as his teamwork and leadership. And actually, he's going to be wearing the captain's armband for us this year. He looks like he's going to do a decent job for us. The second player I brought in was Callum Geraldo Martin. He was on a free transfer as well. And he looks quality, I'll be honest. He's got some fantastic physical stats, as well as his dribbling and finishing, so he's going to be a fantastic inside forward for us. We're only paying him 800 quid, and actually, I think that's a really good wage for a player who, as you can see there, is valued at over 200k. He's an Antiguan and Barbudan, he's got 28 caps for them. So he is our first international player. He was playing in league football prior to this, and he's done a spell with a lower in Scotland, as well as playing for Hartlepool, who obviously we're going to be playing in this episode. So I'm really happy that we've managed to bring him in. We've also brought in Matthew Willock. He came from the Man United youth system as well. He's a central midfielder, can play DM as well if we need him to. He's got a lot of potential left in him as well. And as you can see there, another player who's got quality physical stats already. He's lacking in his mental and technical areas though. What attributes he does lead in is his technique and passing, so that is essentially what we need of him, playing our possession-based philosophy in the middle of the park. And another player who's valued already at over 100k for us. I've also brought in Billy Waters. He's a player who can play on both wings as well as in the centre of the park. Another player who's valued at around 200k, and I'm only paying him 600 quid a week. He came from Cheltenham, so he's played league football before. He's only 22 years old and he's got a lot of potential left in him. And actually, he looks decent. Lots of mental stats, lots of physical stats, a fair bit of pace about him, and his dribbling and crossing attributes are okay as well. Many of his other technical areas we need to develop, but I'm hoping his pace can work well and complement our overlapping fullback. And I've also brought in Tyler Reid. Now he's come from the Man United youth system as well. Another player with a lot of potential. He's mainly a right back, but he can also play at left back, and that is the position I'm actually going to be developing him as. So like I say, lots of potential, but he's fairly pacey already and he's got good tackling and crossing statistics. So I'm hoping he can be a similar sort of player to Ben Glasgow. We're paying him £1,000 a week. He's costing us a fair bit of money, but I've got high hopes and expectations for him. And then looking at our loanees, our first loanee is a centre-back called Darnell Johnson. He's come from Leicester. He was on loan at Grimsby last year, but didn't play too many times for them. A very physical defender, but a limited defender in all fairness. He's got a lot of potential left as well. He's contracted on loan until the end of this year, and also that's when his contract with Leicester expires as well. So it'll be a player that we can monitor throughout the year. He might be available on a free transfer, but we just need to see how much he develops this season really. I've also brought in Sam Bone. He's come from Charlton. He's going to be our new defensive midfielder, having lost Jack Haddon last year. He's a bit more of a ball-winning midfielder and he's got a lot of aggression with him, so that's pretty good for that sort of position. His technical areas are okay. His passing, his tackling and his technique are all there, and he's got a little bit of physique about him as well. His jumping reach is okay as well, and his heading is pretty decent, and that is good for a player who's 1.9 metres tall, so I'm expecting him to play a lot for us in the centre of the park. I've also brought in Joel Coleman. Now Joel Coleman is a young goalkeeper. I've brought him in from Oldham on loan. I'm actually paying a little bit towards his wage contribution each week, but he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and as you can see he's got a lot of potential as well. So I've brought Coleman in to really give us an alternative option in goal and to give some support. I've also brought in another player from Man United. Jake Kenyon's coming on loan. He's a young winger. Again, another player who doesn't have that much technical ability just yet, but he's got an awful lot of potential about him. His physical stats are pretty good and he's got a fair bit of pace, and his crossing ability is okay as well. So I'm hoping for good contribution from him when he does play. And finally, we've brought in Carl McFarlane. He's come in from Birmingham, who are our senior affiliate. He's a young striker. He's got a lot of potential as well. He's rated better than Rowan Liebert. I'm hoping for a really good season from him. He hasn't played much league football, and as you can see there, his other technical areas aren't quite there just yet. But he's got a fair bit of pace about him, and his composure and finishing are pretty decent already. So I'm hoping that he can contribute a fair bit this year and actually support Rowan Liebert where we need him. So having a look at our squad then, I'd say we're okay. Not too many superb players across many of the positions. Standout performers, it looks like, are going to be Billy Waters on the right wing, Geraldo Martin on the left wing, and then McFarlane and Liebert up top. We've got a few areas of concern though. Midfield centre, we really haven't added too many fantastic players. So Charlie Cooper and Matthew Willock will probably be playing a lot of football for us. Sam Bona's coming on loan. He's going to be playing more of a defensive position for us. And I think a lot of games this year we're going to be utilising a defensive midfielder in front of our back four. Again, just to provide a little bit more cover like we did in the first season in the Vanarama North League. And Zvetan Filipov, who was fantastic for us last year, he's a decent player, nothing more than that. The other areas of concern that we've got is also at left back. So I've brought Tyler Reid in. He's got a load of potential about him, but he's predominantly a right back. And as you can see there, our coaches rate him better than Ben Glasgow. I'm going to be sticking with Ben Glasgow on the right fullback role though, because he's done a job for us throughout the whole of last season, and I think he can replicate that in league football as well. So I'm trying to develop Tyler Reid as a left back, so I think going forward that's where he will play. But we don't have any cover at either fullback role. We can play our loanee Darnell Johnson at right back, but again he's nothing more than a backup there. So I'm looking at other alternatives, either to bring in on loan, but there's a few other free transfers out there who could come in to do a job for us. We've got a couple of good defenders, Scott Tancock and Dion Conroy. They're both decent defenders, good for this level of football. And Johnson's coming in, he looks like he's a good player as well. But nothing outstanding there though. So I think we're an average team. I think we're pretty weak in certain places. I don't think we're spectacular though. And actually I found it really difficult to find quality loanees to bring in who are really going to be game changers for us. And because of our finances, as well as our sort of the attraction level of coming to play for Solihull Moors, just hasn't been there. We haven't been able to encourage quality players to come join us on a free transfer, either because we can't afford them or because they're not interested really. So playing Hartlepool today, first game in league football for us, and actually that's on the back of a really poor pre-season actually. Over the 4 games we played, it's quite a late start for pre-season for us this year, but we played Grimsby, Portsmouth, Stourbridge and Havant and Waterlooville. Lots of draws and pretty poor performances throughout the pre-season from us as well. We've picked up a few injuries along the way. Ben Glasgow's out, he's out with a cold, so he won't be out for too long. Pittman's out for a good few weeks, and Andy Thano's out for a good few weeks as well. John Paul Pittman, actually, because of his wage rise, having been promoted, we're paying him a fair bit of money this season, about £900 a week, so I was desperate to try and move Pittman on, and it looked like we could have done that, but then he got injured, so lack of interest from other clubs unfortunately. And just looking at the season preview then, we are rank outsiders, 80-1 odds to win the title. We are backed for relegation this year. Similar to last year, you know, we had a decent non-league team going into the Vanarama National, and actually the additions we made last year made us a really good team. So this is going to be a really tough season for us now. I think we just haven't been able to bring in any of the sort of standard of players that we needed to be competitive this year. So I'm not too certain what to expect from the team this year. I think realistically, mid-table would be fantastic. Anything more than that, I think we'll be lucky. There's going to be some really tough fixtures for us throughout the whole of this year. But we start the campaign at home to Hartlepool, a team that are back from mid-table, so really home games like this, we need to be trying to pick up points. These are the games that we need to try and get something out of, because trips to some of the bigger teams, we're not going to get anything from them this year. And this is the team that we're going to be starting our League 2 campaign with. Joel Coleman in goal, he's coming in for his debut for the squad. Luke Simpson will be starting on the bench. We've got Tyler Reid at left back, Dion Conroy and Scott Tancock at the centre backs. Darnell Johnson, he's coming in to play at right back for the ill Ben Glasgow, and Sam Bowen playing defensive midfielder just sitting in front of them. Matthew Willock and Charlie Cooper playing in the centre of midfield. Callum Geraldo Martin, who's got an absolutely fantastic name by the way, he's playing inside forward role on the left wing. Billy Waters, our standout winger, playing right wing, and Rowan Liebert starting up top. We've got Carl McFarlane, Filipov, Jake Kenyon on the bench, as well as other players like Kieran Bywater and Bradley Lewis. So similar sort of philosophy and tactics this season, playing out of defence, looking for the overlap, a normal defensive line, retaining possession. But we're going to start on the counter against a team that will probably cause us a few issues this game. So because we're at home, we're just edged as favourites in this game, but I'm under no illusion. I think that's going to be a really tough game for us. Our first league outing in League 2. Granted, it could have been against a bigger, more difficult team, but Hartlepool have got a good bit about them and managed by Paul Ince as well, so that's quite interesting. So they're setting up 4-4-1-1, so Sam Bone's going to have to pick up their advanced midfielder in that sort of system of theirs. So sticking tight to their striker, sticking tight to their attacking midfielder, as well as closing down their midfield quartet. And a bit of encouragement to our boys today. So Hartlepool to start the game in our first League 2 game at home. Granted, we're playing at Agborough, and Hartlepool have been dominating possession the first 10 minutes, but no real chances for either team. And we're already at 25 minutes with absolutely no highlights to show you. 66% pass completion rate from Solihull Moors is really shocking. And have we got the whole way to half time without a single highlight to show? A boring game so far and a really poor outing for the Moors. And I tell them that as well. Get them fired up. I'm going on standard as well. So the Moors to start the second half. Really shocking outing from the Solihull Moors in the first half, really. And our pass completion rate was shocking, you know, really poor. It's a free kick to Hartlepool. Cooper clears it. Waters now. Forward to Liebert. There's lots of men breaking on the left-hand side, and Liebert finds Geraldo. Geraldo does well. He beats a couple of men. He's beaten another one again. Geraldo. And it's straight at Murphy. Good movement at the edge of the box. Did well to beat a couple of players, but poor shot in the end. Jeb with a free kick. Again, this time he finds Duckworth at the back post, and Coleman. Good save from him. It's corner, and it's Weston for Hartlepool. He whips it in, but he doesn't beat the first man. It's cleared to Rowan Liebert. Again, he's waiting for support. It's Tancock now. Billy Waters only just finds Charlie Cooper, who plays a good ball forward to Liebert, who squares it to Wilcock. Geraldo again, and Murphy tips it over this time. And it is Reed to take the corner to Coo. Oh, it was Connor at the front post. I thought that was Cooper. We're being bossed on possession, which we haven't had for a couple of years. I don't think since the FA Cup third round of the first season against Tottenham have we been bossed for possession. So I'm going to make a substitution now. Geraldo Martin's coming off. Jake Kenyon's coming on for his debut for us. He's going on as winger. I'm also bringing McFarlane on for Liebert at this stage. So about half an hour to go. Quite a poor outing from Solihull Moors so far, but we have had a couple of opportunities, both falling to Geraldo. Hartlepool are edging us, but Johnson with the throw-in. He finds Sam Bone. Johnson again. Poor ball across, but Willett collects it. Bone again into Charlie Cooper. Good patient passing from the Moors, but that's a poor pass from Johnson, but he does collect it. Waters again. Slots through to McFarlane on his debut. 1-0 to the Moors. A goal on his debut from McFarlane. We did well to regain possession. It was Billy Waters who slotted the ball in, and McFarlane playing off the shoulder of his defender puts us 1-0 up. I'm going on counter now. Our passing has not been good, you know. I think it's time to introduce Zvetan Filipov. So he's coming on for Charlie Cooper. And I'm going to give them a bit of encouragement as well. They're looking nervous out there, which is not unsurprising for a team of our stature. Kenyon whips one in, but doesn't beat the first man. And that's clear to nobody. Reed delivers another ball forward to keep the ball down. Reed again into Sambone. Filipov finds Reed, slots it forward to Kenyon at the edge of the area to McFarlane. Good save. He had another opportunity to get a second goal for himself there. Kenyon whips it in. Again, doesn't clear the first man, but it's gone out for another corner to the Moors. Kenyon to deliver again. Nobody attacking the front post. McFarlane picks it up at the edge of the area. Filipov And that's the end of the highlight. About 15 minutes to go. We're being edged on possession still, and our pass completion rate isn't good. Johnson with a throw into the Moors. Billy Waters finds Willock. Filipov into McFarlane, who's got a bit of space. Looking for some support. He's holding off the man pretty well there, and he plays it across to Willock. Spreads it wide to Reed. Good ball in. McFarlane, he should have scored. He should have got a hat-trick this second half. Johnson into McFarlane. Don't know what that was. We've lost the ball there. It's played forward. And Bingham's got it for Hartlepool. Great tackle from Conroy. Kenyon to Willock now. Spreads it wide. Billy Waters with a bit of space on the right wing. Oh, it's a penalty. Was McFarlane brought down? He was. The worry is I don't think I've set up penalty takers, you know. So I don't know who's actually taking this one. Conroy, the defender. Oh, he drives it down the middle of the goal. Dion Conroy, the captain, on his debut as well. 2-0 to the Moors. Calmly placed down the middle. So we've been bossed on possession for most of the game. We've given away a lot of opportunities, but actually 4 clear-cut chances for us. So some good creativity going forward. And Carl McFarlane, who actually got player of the match, who came off the bench in the 66th minute, should have scored a hat-trick. But a really good performance from us in the end. It was a quiet opening few spells of the game. Our passing wasn't good enough. Our ball retention wasn't good enough. But we did create a few good opportunities for ourselves in that game, and we came out 2-0 winners. So a decent start for us in league football, a 2-0 win at home to Hartlepool. And when we come back in the next episode, it's going to be our home tie versus Exeter at the end of August. In between now and then, a couple of interesting games that we need to overcome. We've got Swindon in the Capital Cup first round, so a really tough fixture for us there, and Swindon are heavy favourites in that one. We're not expected to progress that far in the Capital One Cup, but we can see what we can do as we're playing at home. We've also got to face Wrexham, so obviously Wrexham came up with us from the Vanarama National League, so I'm hoping we can really test ourselves against Wrexham again and really see how much we've developed as a squad over the summer. So I'm hoping for a good win there. I'm also hoping for a decent result in our other 2 ties, and they're both away at Mansfield and Gateshead respectively. So thanks for watching again, guys. I hope you've enjoyed our first episode in League Football. This is where the challenge really begins, and it's going to be a very difficult season for us, but I'm hoping it's going to be a successful season for us. Do leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed what you've seen, and do subscribe for more Rise the Moors, where you can follow our story into League Football. But until the next episode, cheers.